What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Paths Podcast. This is episode 9. I'm your co host, Joseph.
I'm your co-host John, and before we begin this week, we wanted to address that last week we didn't post. We just took a little break for that week, but we're back and we're gonna be posting every Friday again. So make sure you're staying active, following us on our social media platforms and on Spotify, subscribing to Apple Music, and on YouTube to stay up to date with all our upcoming episodes. We're also going to try something else, something new. We're going to try and make the videos 25-ish minutes and only stick to one topic because we have the tendency of talking about a lot and filling you guys up with so much information. The episodes go really long. And then when we want to make a new episode, we're kind of stuck on, well, what do we talk about now? So just let
Yeah.
us know. Let us know on our Instagram, Twitter, TikTok what you guys think about the shorter episodes, if we should continue making them shorter or if you want a little longer. We'll try and adjust to what everyone wants.
Yep. And also, we are going to make an announcement on Instagram Live this Friday, which is April 16th, the day that this episode comes out. And we're going to be doing an IG Live at 7:30 p.m. to make a pretty big announcement and that we are excited for. So tune in and be ready for that announcement. 7:30, April 16th.
Woo woo.
But let's get into this episode 9. And today we're going to be talking about something that everyone does, I'm pretty sure, and it is overthinking.
Yeah. I mean, overthinking kind of takes over our mind whenever we want to do something and we set a goal to do it, and then we start thinking about every little detail, and I feel like it just ends up ruining everything. I mean, what do you think about overthinking?
Yeah, I think that's true. And I definitely think that we think about the worst, like people think about the worst possible things that could happen. And I think that's like a core thing of overthinking is like you think about either what the worst that could happen or what just happened before, and it kind of just messes you up. And I think that this is really common for like everyone, people working, people in sports, a lot, definitely sports, people in school, people trying to chase like their dreams and stuff. It affects a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, overthinking for me at least, it usually happens with like interactions that I have with people or friends. I'm like, oh, why did I say that? And it'll be something like I maybe did like 3 years ago that'll just pop in my head. And I'm like, I start overthinking that situation and it like bothers me. And
Like I should have said this.
yeah, like I should have said this, or why did I say it like that? Or why did I do this? Um,
Yeah.
and then it like continues to bother me. And it's like, dang, that was so long ago. The person probably doesn't even like think about or even remember it. But I'm overthinking, obsessing over it. And I think that's why it's so important also not to look into the past and like try and like nitpick everything you've already done. If you did it, there's nothing else you can do to change it. Move on. It's just that part of us that
Yeah.
like gets anxious.
Even like mistakes, it's like it's seen as like a mistake, like stuff like that, where we look back and it's just like, why did I say it like that? But you live and you learn, and it's not really like a bad thing because you're learning still. You made that mistake and hopefully it doesn't happen again. Hopefully that's the only time that that happens. There's this saying, it's like either I win. Oh no, it's like I don't lose, I always win. Like I either win or I learn from it. And that's it. There's no lose situation there. You never lose if you think about it like that.
But it's not even like I'm not saying like I did something wrong. It'll be like I said hello like weird.
I was thinking about it like way different. But yeah, I get what you're saying though.
Like that
Like
that
why did I even say it
overthinking.
like that?
Yeah, like that overthinking, or like, oh, did they take it that I'm being rude to them or something like that? That overthinking like is so toxic
Yes.
to your well-being and
Trying to
your mental health.
Yeah, it is. But yeah, I just found like what I was saying. I never lose, either I win or I learn. Sorry, it was bothering me because I didn't know if I said it right. But yeah. But yeah, I definitely do it too a lot. Um, and then now, like for me, overthinking happens with that as well, but also mostly like in sports, like all my life. And people that play sports can definitely relate to this. It's like in any sport, like you do something wrong and there's a lot of like people behind you saying you should do this or you should have done that, you know? And it kind of like always plays over in your head every time something similar happens. Let's say like you're batting in baseball and you miss a pitch, everybody's like, you know, step earlier or like swing more level. So then like every pitch, like that's all you could think about. And like I feel like for me is like that's a big reason why I couldn't stay consistent in any sport that I played. It's because I would always try to change something so drastic that like I would just be back at square one. It's not adjusting what I'm comfortable with. Like that's what you should do. It's you should be making minor adjustments to what you already do in anything. And not like cuz I was bringing myself way out of my comfort zone to do something different. I didn't even know that if it worked or not. And that's why it just kept making me worse and worse, and it starts this downward spiral, you know. And I could bring another example up of I was bowling this weekend, and I had my first two games were so really good, like 190 and 209 were my first two games, and that was my first 200. It felt great, but then after that I had a bad first frame for the next game. I didn't get a spare or a strike, and then it was like I completely forgot how to bowl because I like was overthinking everything, where I was standing, how I was releasing the ball. So I was changing. I was like, I should move left, I should move right. And then it started this downward spiral of me just constantly doing bad. And I realized like, why am I changing so much? Like I was like an autopilot the first two games, you know, when you just trust yourself and like do what you know, like it works out so much better than trying to change something every time you do something wrong, because it could just be that one shot or that one thing that like you just didn't execute well, like you just didn't execute good enough, or like you just made a slight mistake. Like, you know, that's something that you can work on though. So you have to stay in that same spot, you know, just work on what you know. Don't try to change, don't try to completely change what you're doing. And that goes for everything.
Yeah, 100%. And I guess, and this happened to me when I was in mm, the process of getting my license. And I told you that the teacher said, when you take your state tests, don't overthink. Go with your first reaction, your first gut, the first answer you think it is. And it definitely
Hmm.
helped me pass because instead of me being there, like when I saw the answer, I was like, yep, that's the answer. And instead of me like looking at everything, being like, oh, but this one could maybe be it because of this and that, and this little
Yeah,
detail could maybe be
exactly.
right and stuff like that. That just like now your mind is like so clouded in judgment, and it's like, what do I do now? You know? But
Yeah,
when you, like you said, when you focus and like you're on like that autopilot, just trusting your gut and what you know, like eventually learning from any mistake you make. But that's definitely going to help in that moment, you know, succeed because you practice, you learn, you study for whatever you're going to do in that moment. And then if you're nitpicking at everything, what was all the practice for? What was all the studying for? You know?
exactly. Yeah, and no, exactly. And it's just like when you do these things, like let's say you're working on the same thing that you're comfortable with to like let's say 40%, right? And then you change a drastic thing, you're back at 0%. And then you have to start all over again, and all that practice that you did before for that what you're comfortable with, it just stays in that spot because you're just going to a completely different style or a completely different thing. And what you said about the test, like I know everybody has dealt with that second guessing themselves. It's like your brain is trying to be like, oh, I think that's the answer, you know, and and then you're just after you get your grades back, you're just like, oh my god, I was right the first time. I should have just circled it the first time. Or like you finish a test early and you're checking everything. It's like, I don't know about that one, and then you just change it and you get it wrong, you know. Like trust your gut, like you know, like you know what's right, like deep down inside, you know. So like you should just trust your gut. And that's why like that autopilot is so crucial. It's kind of just like complete trust in your abilities and your knowledge of what you have. That's why like with driving, like for me with driving, I've had like limited experience, but like when I drive and I kind of have that autopilot on, I kind of have like a distraction. Like if I'm talking to somebody, I drive perfectly. Like I don't worry about anything. I'm driving perfectly. But then when I think about like, oh, like when I'm actively thinking and like, oh, am I too close to this car, or like am I tailgating this person? It just makes me anxious, and it kind of makes me do what I'm trying to like avoid, or I go too far that way. I'm trying to go far, like, or I'm trying to, it just two extremes. It's like I can't kind of do it right when I'm overthinking like that. That's how I feel. Like when I'm trying to avoid something, I just get into a different problem, or like I cause a different situation to think about.
Yes, dude,
I don't
that's
know,
so
that's just me.
true.
Again, that's like that downward spiral.
Right,
Like
because
once you
like you're
start
so
overthinking one thing, it kind of just continues.
yeah, you're so focused on like not messing up in that one thing, you're gonna mess up on something because some it's just I don't know. I don't know how to explain it, but I think you worded it pretty well. That when you try to avoid something, eventually it's gonna come back to you, either that or something worse. But when I'm driving, sometimes I'm like, what I call autopilot when I'm driving is like I'm just like daydreaming and then I'll end up home. Like I start driving and I'm just like I'm home already, and I'm like, oh yeah, how did I get here? Like, how did I
Yeah,
park? How did I not kill
exactly.
someone on my way over here? But that's the trust that you have, like in your instinct.
Yeah. But like, is there more times where we overthink, like other than like conversations with people, like driving, sports,
I mean,
uh,
at work, I used to
school,
overthink a lot,
work?
and like, what if I mess this up? Well, when I was a cashier at ShopRite, I would overthink and be like, okay, the screen literally tells you how much change you have to give, and I'd be like, counting all over again, like the dimes. No, like I'd be like 10, 20, no, 10, 20, 30, 31, 32. Like overthinking that.
Yes. I do the same thing with like I'm in statistics class right now, and I put a question in the calculator and I get the answer, and I'm like, wait, did I put the numbers in right in the beginning? So then I go back and then do it again just to make sure that I did it right the first time. And then usually I do, but that's so funny how we do that. But yeah, it's like the same thing.
I do that all the time at work right now when I'm like trying to calculate something like, wait, I put the numbers in wrong, and I'll do like all over again. Or I'll
Yeah.
try and do it a
Be-
different way. Like if I'm dividing, I'll try and multiply the same numbers to see to like get the same
yeah.
answer. Oh my
But
god.
it's like because we're in autopilot and then we get the answer and then it's like, oh, we think again, and then it's like, oh wait, did I, like
Did
it's kind of
I
like you don't
actually
trust yourself sometimes. Yeah, like it's like you don't trust your instincts, or your knowledge and stuff. So it's like, oh my god, did I do that right? So then you go back. Yeah, I feel like a lot of people do that with. I do that a lot with like locking the door.
lock? Did I
Like
lock
I'd
my
be like
car
in my
door? That's
room.
all.
Yeah, like I'd walk my dog at night and then I come upstairs and I get in bed and I'm like, dang, did I lock the door? And like 10 times out of 10, I lock the door. But I still get out of bed, like walk over there to look and to see if I lock the door, and I always do, but I still do it. I don't know why. Like I just overthink it. It's crazy.
Literally, that happened to my boss today. It's like 7:30, and she calls me. She's like, I was thinking about whether or not I closed the garage door, and I can't remember if I did or not.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, what do you want me to do? She's like, could you stop by and check? I was like, sure, I guess. So I went and checked, and it was
Yeah.
closed. But it's just the whole idea of like that exact thing, like thinking, did I actually do it? Did I not? I do that all the time with
Yeah.
locking my door, closing the door to the office and stuff like that. But I
Yeah.
also think that at
Like locking your
work,
car door too.
yes, yes. And I also think that when we're at work, the overthinking kind of takes over because you're in fear of like your supervisor or your boss or anything like that, like watching over you doing something wrong. So you're like overthinking
Mhm.
because you don't want to get anything wrong. So I think that kicks in as well. And like you said, eventually you're gonna, the more like you're like obsessing over something, you're gonna mess it up. I've the way I've kind of gone around that. Well, now I'm kind of a supervisor role, so I like try and ease the people that kind of bring everything to me. Like, hey, you didn't do anything wrong, and I think that's helped me a lot in trying to figure out like not to overthink when I take it to my supervisor. Just like, whatever
Mhm.
happens, happens, and we'll learn from whatever happened if I made a mistake rather than freaking out, being like, oh my God, did I do everything right? And then redoing everything all over again because I don't trust myself that I did everything right.
Okay, so like when those common things happen, like did I lock my car doors? Did I close the garage? Did I lock the door to my house? You know, like that thought isn't like that alarming because then you think like, oh yeah, I trust myself, like I probably did it. But then that downward spiral starts again and you think like, oh my God, if it is open, someone could get in my house. If it is open, someone could get in my car. So then you keep
Someone can
thinking
steal my
about that
dog.
and it's like, oh my God, yeah, yeah, exactly. There's like I need to check. Like I have to check. And like for me, it's like I always know I locked the front door, but then that downward spiral starts when I start thinking, and it's like somebody could get in the house, you know. So it's like then you have to check. It's crazy how it kind of like applies to everything. Like you think about like one little thing and then that downward spiral starts, or you fix one or you try to adjust like one little thing and then it just downward spiral and it could get worse and worse in your head.
The doubt. The doubt just continues to grow.
Yeah. Yeah, or like the fear of what could happen if
Yeah, because you're feeding it.
like
Like you're
that
feeding it
is true.
more and it's growing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like a beast. It just takes control. Like it just takes control of your you're literally just feeding it and it's just getting bigger and bigger in your head, you know? And then in terms of what we were going to say is like with the confidence thing, I was thinking like it definitely has to do with like self confidence. Like well, it doesn't have to do with in certain situations like the locking doors and stuff, but in other situations like the self confidence that you have, that all comes from trust in yourself and trust from your past experiences and practice and and that's why like the best like all the best sports teams in the world are so great because they have trust in their abilities and their teammates also, and they're able to get over like these overthinking thoughts and these anxious thoughts to just like you always hear coaches say like put that behind you, like just focus on like what happens next, because you don't want to overthink where you just made a mistake because no one else is dwelling on that mistake except you. Maybe your teammates will think about it for like a few seconds like dang he missed that layup or he struck out or but then you're just back on to the next play, like then
Right.
the
You gotta
game
keep
goes
going.
on. Yeah, there's nothing you could do about what just happened. And like I think a lot of athletes have that problem is like dang I could have did this or I should have did that or how did I miss that. But then it's just like the game goes on whether you made it or missed it.
Mhm.
So you just have to focus on what you can do and like just like life, like what you can control and just keep your mind on what's going on like from then on. You can't just like worry about like what happened. It's like life is like experiences that you learn from, like they can be applied in so many different ways now that I think about it. Like what
Oh
we're just
yeah.
talking about with like, yeah, like how we're just talking about, I just explained it, like how we can compare like life, like don't dwell on what you don't have control over anymore can apply to like sports where like if you do something bad you can't control that anymore, like the game goes on, life goes on, and then you focus on that. It's crazy. I
Just
never thought
triggered
about it like that.
like the trauma from the anxiety of a volleyball tournament.
The volleyball tournament at our school.
Like when I would miss something and I'd be like, oh my God, my teammates hate me. Why
Yeah.
did I do this? And I'd
See,
like start
see, that's like
overthinking.
yes, that's what like
And
every
then
athlete goes like through in their young like throughout their younger years. And then like once you get to high school or college, then you kind of like have more trust and like believe that like your teammates are fine. Like they don't really care about what you did wrong then. Like they just care about what you do, after that, how you
Mhm.
bounce back from it,
Right.
and how well you guys play together. But yeah, like I felt the same way with the volleyball tournament too, because it was like I was new and I was like, am I doing this right? Like, is everybody, because nobody's telling me, like, did I do it wrong, right? Like, but then all your teammates, they just want you to do good in the future. So they're like, you're okay. Like, like, good
Yeah, I
job. Like, you
remember
tried,
I
like,
would be
whatever.
like, I'd be like, relax, everyone, like just breathe, and boom, we would score. But then like when everyone got like all like so like
Tense.
tense and like nervous and stuff, like we would miss. So I kept repeating like, okay, breathe, like relax, just breathe. And one of our teammates like turned, she
Yeah.
was like, yeah, breathe. Like she was like kind of like making like a little joke out of it, but I was like, no, I'm serious, and it would work. So we started doing that.
When you're like more relaxed and you're you
You gotta
trust in
step
like your
away,
teammate.
refresh,
it's
and then
it's just
continue.
like any other play, nothing's different. When you don't worry about the score or like the crowd, this is like what everyday athletes go like through. It's like when you don't worry about those things, like in crunch time, like in clutch moments, like it's just like any other play. You still have to score, you still have to hit it right, you still have to whatever. So like when you put that added pressure on, like what if I don't do this or what if I don't score, then it just makes it worse. That downward spiral starts, and then you will miss, or you will, like, just like you said. And then like once like with our team, it was great because like we took it serious, but like we I feel like once we started talking, like after each point, it was like kind of like it calmed us down, I guess because every time it was so tense. And then like once we score, or even when we don't score, it's like it's okay, like we got this next one. And then it's like you kind of just like get more calm, and then like that's what sports is all about. That's what good teammates are. Like they try to help you not think about like what you did before, or like not worry about what's going on. It's just like, just breathe and we got this. Just believe that you could do it and stuff. Just go in that autopilot and just trust in your abilities, trust in your practice, trust in your teammates, and it all goes well. Like just like work. It's like, let's say you're working in like a chain where like you do some work and you got to pass it on to somebody else and they continue the job and stuff. You don't worry about if they're going to do it right. You just like I did my part. Hopefully, like you got it. Like, and if
Yeah.
something wrong happens, and we'll fix it when we get there or whatever. There's nothing you can do about it.
Metaphor of life in sports. Dang.
Yeah, I know. It's like
I
I
don't.
know. Like
I'm not
life
like.
is so, like you could connect so many things that you learn in life into sports. It's like the same. It's crazy. Like
I'm not a big like
crazy.
sports person. That's why I'm like just
I know.
listening
It's
to
like way more
like.
mind blowing to me.
Yeah, no,
Because
no.
I'm
It's
like
mind blowing to
connect.
me because I'm like I never thought about it like that. Like I'm not like very like attentive to sport related things.
Mhm.
So now when you're like connecting it to life, I'm just listening like wow. Yeah, you know.
Yeah, because
Um
like I'm realizing it now, so I gotta say it like what's habit like. But yeah, a lot of stuff that you learn in life can just be applied to sports. Great teammates are always very upbeat and not worried about like, and good coaches are like upbeat and like focus on the next play. We're good. But a lot of
those are
bad
your friends in
coaches,
life. You know, those are your friends that
yeah,
is
and
like
then
pick it
a
up,
lot of the
refresh, go on.
exactly. You want to be around people like that. Like that's kind of another thing, like friends. You want to have teammates that bring you up and like trust you, and just like real life, just like your friends. But like if you have like yours, like the people on your team, if they're just like, dang, this person sucks, like they're like, I don't trust him at all, or like, or your coach is like, why'd you do that, and they just like make you think about it more. Like you don't want coaches and teammates like that, like people that will um bring up your past like mistakes and stuff.
And yeah, and you don't want to be the one who's also like overthinking about all the negative qualities about your friends or
The
your
other
person.
person, yeah.
Right, because then you're not gonna end up surrounding yourself with anyone, you know, because you're overthinking about like everything that's bad. You know, think about the
Yeah,
positive things and how they benefit you being in each other's lives instead of like the negative aspects, I guess, because if not, you're gonna end up pushing everyone away because you're thinking about it too much.
yeah, exactly. And like I used to have a lot of teammates when I was younger in practices and stuff. They do bad in practice and they get mad about it. But then all of us would be like, this is practice for a reason. Like, it's okay to make mistakes here, and you adjust them here, and you think about it when you're not here to try to fix it. And then when we get to the game, hopefully you don't make that mistake. But they get mad in practice, like we'll be hitting and they can't hit, and it's like okay, like that's fine. You're like, you just adjust, and if you're not hitting here, it's fine. But if you don't hit in the game, then it's like, then you gotta then you could be like that. But if you're just not hitting in practice, like, it's practice for a reason. Like, you're supposed to be working on it, and like, it's fine. Like, none of your teammates are thinking about it like, dang, this person sucks. Like, it's just practice, and we're all working on it too. It's like
Until you
some
cost the
people.
team the game.
Yeah, exactly. It's like they couldn't hit, or they couldn't make a game winner in practice or something, and it's like, dang, like, they start crying. It's like, I get it, like, you want to be great, but here, like, we're just worrying about, like, getting better. I'm sorry, I don't mean to talk so much about sports. It's just that a lot of the stuff that we're talking about, it like really relates to overthinking and like life and stuff.
That was the tangent of the episode.
Yeah, but it was still
But
related.
no, yeah, it was. And I mean, overthinking can really control your life in a sense. I mean, it starts out so small and then it can grow to be something so big where you're kind of isolated from everything and anyone, anything, because you're overthinking about everything. You're nitpicking everything and nothing is ever good
Yeah,
enough. So,
yeah,
I mean, I guess what we can learn relating it to sports, relating it to life, it's just like do what you know and adjust from there instead of kind of like trying to fix everything before you even do it and
yeah.
overthinking. And
Trying new things, trying things that you think will work. Do what you feel comfortable with and trust yourself, like John said.
yeah, I mean, eventually you can move out and out of your comfort zone. We're not saying that you should always stick inside your comfort zone,
Yeah,
but
you could try new things.
yeah, you can try new things like that. But it's kind of like where it's like those moments where we start analyzing every little detail and end up doing nothing.
Yeah,
It's
the
like,
extreme.
yeah,
So, with that being said, we hope you guys enjoyed, and expect more active social media. We will get on that.
for real this time.
And so, yeah, for real this time. And so, like, follow us on Instagram at Paths Podcast, Twitter, YouTube. Follow on
Apple
Spotify
Podcasts,
also. Apple
Spotify.
Podcasts. If you like it, add the rating. Ratings really help us. And
Yeah,
if you're
and
interested in donating, John, you got the link. I forgot.
yeah, if you guys want to support us, you can donate over at anchor.fm/podpads dash podcast slash support. The link will be in our bio on YouTube, and you can find it on all our social media platforms. Remember to stay active because we are going to be doing that announcement on Friday
Yes.
on Instagram Live. We'll see you
All
guys
right,
soon.
cool. We hope you guys enjoyed. We'll see you guys soon on Friday, hopefully, in the Instagram Live at 7:30, April 16th. And peace. Episode 9 done.